What's up, folks? So I had a customer reach out to me and say, I want you to make me a handle for my grandfather's small little axe here. It's a 2.5 pound West German axe. We discussed what type of wood we were going to use, and he didn't want traditional hickory or ash, and originally wanted something really dark like walnut. And I said, well, walnut's a little on the brittle side, so let's go through Bell Forest's kind of exotic wood catalog, and you kind of show me what you might be interested in. And so we settled on Sapele, or what's also known as African mahogany. It's a really pretty wood, and it's sturdy enough. It's a little softer than hickory, but it will definitely get the job done. After deciding what shape we wanted, which was slightly on the curvier side, we just got to work on it, man. Here we've got a little bit of the fine tuning for the tongue and the first dry fit. I do want to go ahead and shout out my buddy Thomas Martin. He does an amazing job of polishing and mirroring my bits from all of my axes. Now, after fine tuning the tongue, we go ahead and bring it over my trusty Shopsmith bandsaw. But after cutting the curve, we're going to go over and pick out some wood that we're going to use for making the wedge. Here we have some spalted sycamore that actually came from a tree that was cut down in our local art museum, Crystal Bridges. Making a little jig for wedges has been like one of the funnest tools to use because it was so simple to make and it creates such a satisfying product at the end. After trimming it down a little bit, we go and do a test fit inside the eye of the axe just to make sure it's going to be perfect. I'll even do a little bit of shaving in the front and the back just to make sure it fits right in the corners of the eye. Perfect. Still a little more dry fitting. We're going to make sure it sits just perfect in between the tongue and the eye. Now for probably a crowd favorite, which in the end is kind of messy. But when you speed this thing up, it's so satisfying. We're going to bring home that wedge. Now, if you see there, right where my first finger is, there's going to be a little knot in the wood. That's actually where I'm trying to stop. And bada bing, it pretty much stops right there. I'm going to go ahead and cut it right above that little knot, and it's going to be perfect. Now, this trick here is actually something I learned from Stumptown axes. Take a little X-Acto knife and trim off all the little split-offs that you have when you're hammering in a wedge. And now, of course, this is actually the true crowd favorite, oiling up the top of the wedge. That spalted sycamore is just beautiful. Get a load of the colors in there. Now here we have the most time consuming, and there's many ideas and many areas of thought of what's the best method to do this. I choose rasp and file. This allows me to get into the curves really neatly, especially with a half round file in various sizes. Now, don't judge my belt sander here. It gets the job done and it was relatively cheap. Now, this customer wanted a really pretty palm swell, and he picked out wenge, and I couldn't blame him. It's wonderful to work with, but I will admit it's a little on the flaky side. Anytime I wanted to sand it or file it, it always ended up tearing a little more than I wanted, so I had to be really gentle when sanding it down. Now we're bringing it on home with the palm sander. I started out at 40 grit and then 80 grit, 120, and then I ended on 220. And now the linseed oil, by far my favorite part of the process. What you're hearing in the background is actually rain on my metal roof, but towards the end of this video, we're going to see some still shots of the wood, and it just pops incredibly well with the linseed oil. By far my favorite wood I think I've ever used for a handle. African mahogany, or sapele from different sellers, but look at those stripes. It's fantastic. I eventually told the customer that I didn't really want to give it to him. This thing turned out so beautiful. I was jealous that I was making it for him and not keeping it for myself. This is actually my 28th handle I've ever made. Look at that spalted sycamore. Beautiful. Now y'all know the drill. Like and subscribe. Thanks for coming by.